Well, it is now my pleasure to introduce our 2019 commencement speaker, Dr. Katy Sullivan.
Wow, thank you so much. It's so weird, you guys. This is exactly how I pictured it to be. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. Thank you, Webster University faculty, staff, students, and guests. It is my sincere honor to be here with you today. Actually, when I was asked to do this, I was a bit intimidated, so I reached out to friends and family to get some advice as to what they thought I should say. I got a lot of run-of-the-mill stuff, like work really hard or be true to yourself, blah, blah, blah. My brother Daniel didn't have much to say in terms of advice. He was just super excited that I was going to get to dress like a wizard. When I asked my mom what she thought I should say, she said, "You should tell them not to be a jerk." And at first I thought that was very much my mom, very on brand, very #Barbara Sullivan. But on my about 5th time telling that story, I realized how wise those words actually were. I reflected on the amount of time people, me included, have wasted on being a jerk in our lives, how it holds us back in our personal lives, in our work lives, in our communities. So I am not going to spend my time up here today talking about shooting for the moon or thinking outside the box or walking a mile in someone else's shoes, which could be really actually unsanitary. No, instead, I am going to give you my list of ways not to be a jerk in your life. Number 1, don't be a jerk to your family. Whatever that you define that to be, I'm talking about your support system, the one you were born into, the friends that you surround yourself with, the one that you will create for yourself one day. When my mom was pregnant, there was no indication that there was something different about me. And this was way before 3D ultrasounds where you can totally tell that your kid has his chin and thank God your nose. On the way to the hospital, she had no idea how physically different I was going to be from my 3 older siblings. Everything seemed to be routine, until in the delivery room, my mom heard one of the nurses say, "Oh my God." And before she could find out what was wrong, she was asleep. In recovery, I was nowhere to be seen, but my father was there, and he had to tell her that the baby was fine, she was healthy, she was just born without the lower halves of her legs. My parents really let me set the bar for how I was going to take on life. But they laid a foundation for me to be as successful as possible. When I was an infant, my legs were stuck in the fetal position. I couldn't straighten them myself. So every day, my mom would take my tiny little legs that fit in the palm of her hand and push them down, so that the muscles and tendons would stretch out. She called them our exercises. I would cry, she would cry. I had the tremendous fortune to be born into a family of people that didn't see my physical difference as something to be ashamed of. They never treated me like I was made of glass. If my brother climbed a tree, I was right behind him. If my sister took gymnastics, I got out my leotard. If the plan was to sled down a staircase, I was in. It was the 80s after all, and actually no one was really supervised. I was never expected to temper my expectations of what my life could look like and what I could achieve in it. I was never discouraged from dreaming up what was possible for me. And when I declared that I was going to be a theater major, no double major, no backup plan, if there were parental sleepless nights or hushed conversations of, "She's insane," they never let it show. My parents weren't afraid of letting me fail. If I fell in my new prosthetic legs, I had to figure out how to get up. If I made a questionable choice, I had to deal with the repercussions. We are guaranteed failures in life. I can promise you that. But I can also promise you that that is where the wisdom lies. I've learned more about myself and my personal strength from the times that I have failed than any time that I have won. If you can be a person who can stare failure in the face and figure out how to stand up again and keep going, I am here to tell you that that is a successful person. That is what I got from my family. The courage and confidence to face this world knowing that failure was guaranteed. They laid a foundation for who I am today. So don't be a jerk to your support system and your family. They are the ones that will be there for you no matter what. They are the ones who know the real you and love you anyway. They are the ones who will stretch your legs when you are a baby so you can walk. And they are the ones that will push you around the British Museum when your robot legs give out. I love you, Patrick. Number 2, don't be a jerk to your opportunities. When I was still an infant, my mom was talking to a doctor who I truly believe was trying to comfort a woman who just had a baby who had no legs. He told her that the world doesn't need another runner, but she'll find other things to be good at. And he was right for a very long time. Sports were a very difficult thing for me. Now, that's not to say I didn't want to play games and that I didn't try. I did. But anything I tried, swim team, gymnastics, there was a plateau, and one that often showed up rather quickly, where progress wasn't physically possible. So sports took a massive back seat in my early life. Flash forward to when I was 25 years old. I was handed a pair of prosthetic running blades to try. And that one opportunity changed an entire chapter in my life. It took a while for me to figure out the mechanics of running. I had never run before, ever. I had no muscle memory of running. Just putting one foot in front of the other quickly was a challenge. But I had no agenda. I had no plans. There were no dreams of Olympic glory on my mind. My prosthetist suggested at one point that we attend a track meet for fun. Now, I had never even been a spectator at a track meet before I was signed in to compete in one, and I'm not sure if I have ever been that intimidated. It's very stressful. There are lane assignments and numbers all over your body, people running everywhere, they shoot guns at you. I turned to my prosthetist and I said, "Can't I just sing the national anthem?" I would much rather do that. It was time for my race. It was the 60 meter, but this was a bit of a you can do it kind of track meet. And I had never run before, so that seemed like a really good place to start. I got up to the line. I was in the middle lane. I looked to my left, and I looked to my right at my competitors, and I was standing in the middle of 10-year-olds. So I thought to myself, well, crap. I guess I better win. which I did, although one of those little boogers was really fast. And looking back on that now, I am pretty positive that that makes me less of an amazing athlete and more of just a really bad person for beating children in a race. What I didn't know was that there was a Paralympic coach there at that event that day. And he came up to me and he was very excited, and he said, "How serious about this are you?" And I was like, "Not at all, sir. Not at all." But he was persistent. He was like, no, you don't understand. If you do this, then other people will see you do it, and they'll see what's possible for them, and they will start to do things for themselves. And I was like, calm down, Yoda. Listen, man, do you understand that I had never run before a month ago? You're suggesting that I become a Paralympic runner? You are out of your mind. Don't you know that I am a serious dramatic actress? And for your information, I had an audition the other day for car crash victim number 2 on SVU, and I came really close to booking it, I think. I can't focus my life on becoming an amateur athlete. But he planted a seed. He presented an opportunity. I considered the downside of failure. Okay, so if I gain an amazing new skill, I get in incredible shape, I push myself so far outside my comfort zone that I can't even see it anymore, and the worst thing that can happen is that I don't make a U.S. team, totally worth failure. A year and a half later, when I competed at my first Pan Am Games in Brazil, I became the first bilateral above-the-knee amputee to compete internationally in ambulatory track in the world, male or female. Sounds painfully simple. It really wasn't. My running career was over 7 years of my life. My blood, my sweat, my tears, 7 years of training for a Paralympic race that was going to last less than 18 seconds. But for our purposes here today, bing, bang, boom, London 2012, the 100 meters. Getting in the blocks that day was not something that I can even really explain. The pride of standing there with USA written across my chest and representing our country. Also, the absurdity of the ultimate fake it till you make it on the grandest of scales. I ran a great race that day. I ran a personal best. I finished 6th in the world, and I set an American record. And all of that happened because I didn't laugh in the face of opportunity. When Yoda appeared and casually told me to levitate rocks with my mind, I could have told him to take the force and shove it. So don't be a jerk to your opportunities. Sometimes things might seem like they are coming so far out of left field that you disregard them. And sometimes the opportunity comes with some major obstacles built into them, and you have to be honest about the amount of yourself that it's going to take to achieve it. And that leads me to number 3. Don't be a jerk to yourself. A few years ago, I was given the opportunity as an actress to audition for a role in a play called Cost of Living. When I sat down and read the play, the role scared me. The character was written from an incredibly powerful and honest place. She was willful, she was opinionated and wounded. She was also a quadriplegic who had almost no movement from the neck down. Her last scene in the play was about 20 minutes of lying in a bathtub where you just see head and neck. Her stillness scared me. I sent the play to my best friend, and I said, I really don't think I want to do this. She read it, and she said, "You're insane if you pass this up. You're just scared, dummy." So I sent in my audition. About a month later, I got a call back with the director. I did all of my actor homework, the great stuff while I was here at Webster University. Where are my conservatory people at? Woo! Ready? Here we go. Shortly after that, I was offered the role. I had never been more creatively and physically challenged. Right before we went into the world premiere production, we found out that the play was going to be moved off Broadway by Manhattan Theater Club. And that was going to be about a 5-month commitment. And during that first run, I was still working my day job at the same time. I'd get a break from rehearsals and I'd run to my phone and make sure I hadn't missed a work call or an email. I was juggling 2 careers, and it was becoming apparent that I couldn't do both at 100%. It was a very safe place, that day job of mine. But my acting career was picking up, and I was at a point where I had to take a leap of faith that I was going to be able to take care of myself. That the industry was changing for performers with disabilities enough that I was going to be okay. I knew that for my heart, I had to roll the dice, so I did. I put in my notice to my steady corporate safety net day job that I had had for 10 years, and I started a new chapter, a chapter that fed my soul. Cost of Living went on to win the 2018 Pulitzer Prize for drama. I personally was nominated for 4 New York Acting Awards. I actually even won one of them. And I have since starred in the Los Angeles and London premieres of the play. 4 cities, 2 countries, 170 bathtub scenes later, and I'm so proud of my past self for jumping. Now, that doesn't mean that every day has been a cakewalk. I'm still a performer with a disability, and that is still a very challenging thing to sell to people in the entertainment industry. But I'm not willing to stand up here and lie to you. Some days I have more questions than I have answers, and accomplishments on paper don't always equal stability in our lives. I've had to learn to lean on other people and ask for help even when it hurt my pride. Please see section 1 of this speech, Don't Be a Jerk to Your Family. So don't be a jerk to yourself. The days that nothing extraordinary happens will far outweigh the days that you win an award or you land a job, but those are the days that it is imperative that you stay kind to yourself and stay focused on the long game. There may be times that your career is going great and there's something majorly stressful happening in your personal life, and vice versa. Life is complicated that way. But try to remember to cut yourself some slack every once in a while, because I promise you sometimes you're going to be the only one doing that. There's nothing magic up here. I am dressed like a wizard, but I am not actually one. I'm actually more like a cyborg, if you want to get technical. But more importantly, I am a person who is not willing to let a disability dictate how my life should go. I truly believe that the obstacles that appear in front of us are there to demonstrate how badly we want something in life. If you can be nimble and ready to adapt, you can be a person who remains standing even when the winds around you change, even when the rain falls on your head. If you can be a person who is able to take your perceived limitations and turn them into your advantages, I'm sorry, but there is no way you can lose at life. And if you can take a beat in a difficult moment And remember not to be a jerk. I promise you, extraordinary things can happen. Thank you so much, and congratulations to the class of 2019.
Thank you, Katy Sullivan.